Hi, this is Maria Olson. You may know me from Trophy Heads or Starry Eyes and maybe Paranormal Activity 3. And I want to welcome you to Anthony T's Horror Show because it's an awesome show.
Hi, my name is Jessica Cameron, and you're listening to Anthony T's Horror Show.
Hey, fellow horror fans. This is Troy Escamilla, the director of Party Night and Mrs. Claus, and you are listening to Anthony T's Horror Show. Enjoy.
Welcome to another edition of Anthony T's Horror Show. I'm Anthony T. In this episode, I'll be interviewing actress Berna Roberts, as we're going to talk about her films Ugly Sweater Party and Slaw. I will also go into yet another Child's Play rant, as the official trailer for the film dropped, and it continues to anger me when you listen to my latest complaint about the upcoming Child's Play remake, which I really don't want to do, but each and every new tidbit we get about this film just angers me. Really angers me to the point that I have to address it on the show. I'm hoping this is the last Child's Play rant before it hits theaters, because I'm kind of getting tired of doing these Child's Play rants. But when you put out crap, I have to call you out on it. And I just don't like this remake for a number of circumstances. And it just keeps growing and growing. But I'll talk about that more in the commentary right after the news. Also, I will be having yet another open letter, as yours truly recently wrote a letter to Shudder executives. While I have not sent the letter, I figure I share the letter with you, as I really want a season 2 of The Last Drive-In. The Last Drive-In is one of those shows where I get excited for every Friday night. Job Bob Briggs does an excellent job with the way he presents the films, and it's also gotten me on Twitter, which I rarely do. I don't use Twitter a lot, only to maybe promote this show, but The Last Drive-In has gotten me to tweet on the podcast official Twitter page at Anthony T's Horror, because I'm having a lot of fun with this show, and it's great to tweet during the first film every Friday night. So I wrote this open letter to plead to Shudder executives, as I'm also going to tag them whenever I post the show on social media, because we really need a second season of The Last Drive-In. It's always a fun time, and it's can't miss television. So I will have my open letter on that as well. And I will also recommend a new film. That's right, a new film that I recently checked out on Amazon Prime, because Philip, Michael, and the gang at Doc Discussions did a review podcast on this film. It's one of the most recent episodes of Doc Discussion Podcast, which you can also find here on the Doc Discussions Network or at docdiscussions.com. But this film was so good that I immediately brought the DVD of the film. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm going to let you keep in suspense unless you've listened to the episode on Doc Discussions already. Then you know what I'm talking about. But for the rest of you that haven't listened to that episode, I'm going to hold that off till the end of the show. But first, the news. Now, the major news that dropped gap between episodes was the release of the official teaser trailer for the most anticipated horror film of 2019. Yes, I'm talking about It, Chapter 2. I've seen the trailer a couple of times, and I have to say, this looks like it's going to be a very creepy film like the original. Most of the trailer has pretty much one scene in it, which is downright creepy. You also get some other shots from the film as well, but that teaser trailer is downright creepy, especially the beginning of the trailer, which definitely sells me on this film. No doubt about it. I really cannot wait for this film to come out. September 6th is the release date. This is definitely my most anticipated horror film. And if there's any indications from the trailer, it looks like it's going to be like Chapter 1. And I'm really hoping this is a great film. Seriously. Because it would be a great way to cap off the 2-film series. I really cannot wait for this film, as this film looks like it's going to be equal or better than the original. Because that scene in the teaser trailer is just downright creepy. And it's great that they kind of set the tone with this teaser trailer, as this is one of those trailers where I want to see this film day one. And you can't say that with many films these days, but It Chapter 2 really knocked it out of the park with its teaser trailer. I can't wait to see what they have in store when they release the official trailer for the film, as this is definitely a film I cannot wait to see on September 6th. There's also another big story that dropped as well. The other story that's big? Well, it looks like we may be getting a Hellraiser reboot, finally. It's been talked about for years and years and years, and it finally looks like it is going to happen. I don't know what to think about it, personally, because the person who will be handling the screenplay is David Goyer. Yes, David Goyer. On one hand, he's written some very good screenplays, including Blade 2, and quite possibly my favorite science fiction film of all time, Dark City. But lately, his work has not been great, as he's written the screenplays for Man of Steel, which sucked, and Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, which was a very boring superhero film. So I don't know what to think about this film. I'm hoping he goes back to the screenplays of Blade 2, Dark City, and produces a great screenplay. And I'm also afraid that we could have another Child's Play situation here, because I'm kind of worried, because his last couple of films that he wrote the screenplay for didn't pan out too well. So I'm really hoping this is a return to form for David Goyer as a screenwriter. And finally, since I have no convention news this episode, so this will be the last news story, so don't ask me why there's no convention news, because there wasn't any between episodes. UK's Grimfest Films, this is I think a new production company, recently announced that they will be producing and financing Deathgasm Part 2. Now, if you're not familiar with Deathgasm, the film recently played on the last drive-in. This is a very good film, the first Deathgasm. Definitely check that film out. So when I heard the news that they are making Part 2, I'm excited. Seriously. If it's on the level of Deathgasm, it's going to be a very good film. And it's something I'm willing to see, because I had so much fun with Deathgasm. I cannot wait for this film to start production. There's been no release date or anything set, but this is kind of exciting, because I do want to see a sequel to Deathgasm. It's been way too long since we had a Deathgasm sequel. And with that, that's the news for this episode. Besides Anthony T's Horror Show, you can also listen to these other fine podcasts on the Dark Discussions Network. Doc Discussions, hosted by Philip Perrone and Michael Darwin. You Know Nothing, Jon Snow, a Game of Thrones podcast. Bullets, Brothels, and Bots, a Westworld podcast. Halloween Boutique, Psychotronic Reviews. And Searching for American Gods. You can find Doc Discussions on the web at www.docdiscussions.com. And Doc Discussions is also available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Warning: the following commentary doesn't represent the views of Doc Discussions or the Doc Discussions Network. In other words, there are my views only. Welcome back. Now, last episode, I told you that I was going to eventually talk about the Child's Play trailer in a more calm and niceful way this time. Well, that time has arrived. It's been the topic that's been hijacking the show ever since this remake was announced. And now we finally have an official trailer for the new Child's Play film. Now, going into this, I did not want to see this film at all, because I'm not happy with the way that they kicked the original creator of the Child's Play series to the curb and not have him have any control in what goes on in the film. So, did my opinion change on this? Because sometimes trailers can change my opinion on things, and sometimes trailers just don't. With the new Child's Play trailer, it just doesn't at all. In fact, I feel more worse about this remake now. Seriously. After seeing the trailer for the new Child's Play film, I could not believe what the hell they are doing with this film. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. If I didn't think this film could get any worse than it already has, well, the official trailer made this film even look worse. What makes this film even worse in my eyes is the way that they destroyed Andy. You may know Andy in the original Child's Play to be a very young and very lovable type of character. Now, this Andy is too dark. It's like, what the hell? He looks more emo-like, more dark. He's not lovable. But the major thing that really pisses me off about it is Andy looks like he's around the age of 10 to 12. In the original, Andy looked like he was more like a first or second grader. This kid looks like a fourth, fifth, I'll even go far to say sixth grader. Why is Andy so old? Really? I was expecting maybe someone who's maybe 8, 9, 10. He looks like he's like 11, 12. And how can I buy the fact that a 10 to 12-year-old would play with a toy such as Chucky? Really, how am I supposed to buy that as a reviewer and as the story? I don't get it. I really don't get it. As I can't buy the fact that this character would be playing with a doll. Because when I think of someone around the age of 10, 11, and 12, they're more into like action figures, music, not a toy doll or toy robot as in the case of this film. So, why is Andy older? I don't get it. Really, I don't. He's not lovable. I'm sorry. This kid is not lovable like the way that Peter Parker looked in the Amazing Spider-Man films with that emo look. I just don't get what they're doing with this film. I really don't get it. Why would you make the second lead character older? It's like, oh, maybe you don't get it, Anthony. But I don't buy the fact that a 10 to 12-year-old kid would be playing with a doll. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And you wonder why I go on these long-winded rants about this film. It's been one disaster after another. It's like it never ends. And don't talk to me about that recent teaser poster too, because for all those people who don't know about the recent teaser poster, it shows Chucky pretty much beating up on a doll that looks like Woody from Toy Story 4. It's just screaming gimmick with that poster. So, I don't get what this film is doing in the lead up to it. I really don't. I'm getting off topic here because now I'm going into the teaser poster, but let's get back on topic to the trailer. And another thing that I did not like about this trailer, and there's this quick tease of a scene where a bunch of TVs go haywire and a message goes on saying, time to play. Are you kidding me? Literally. When I think of Child's Play, I think of the serial killer aspect. I think of the voodoo aspect. But this film, there's none of that, apparently, in the trailers. And I doubt there is any of it in the film. So, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Because I literally wanted to scream when I saw that quick scene where all the TVs said, time to play. Really? You're gonna that's something for the main villain to say. Not having project onto a big TV screen, time to play. It's like, why? It's like, I'd rather hear Chucky say that, not see some stupid TV screen saying time to play. I'm sorry. Seriously. Now, if this trailer did anything positive, and this might be the first time I say positive about this Child's Play film, is the fact that it probably is going to debunk one of my theories about this film. Because I remember saying a while back that, oh my god, we're going to have multiple Chuckies in this film. Well, in the toy store scene, there's like a remote control like airplane going off in the toy store. So, maybe we won't see multiple Chuckies, which is probably a good thing, in all honesty. Because anything else in this film right now looks awful. And no, I will not be going opening weekend to see this film. So, I want to put any rumors to rest right now. I will not be seeing this film opening weekend. In fact, the only way I will be seeing this film is if horror critics all of a sudden praise the film. And I'm really finding a hard time believing that we are going to see this from horror critics. Because all the things in the trailers so far have shown me that this film is going to downright be bad. I would not be surprised when it's all said and done that this would be a very good contender for worst remake of all time. Putting it up with the 2010 remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and that was really a bad film. and I had the displeasure of having to pay a ticket to see that film. I'm not making that mistake with this Child's Play remake, because personally, I see this film ending up being a bad film, and a bad film that may contend with 2010's Nightmare on Elm Street as the worst remake of all time. Seriously, there is nothing good in any of the trailers. There's nothing good that changes my mind. I can't support this film. I'm sorry. I really cannot support this film, as this film looks like it's going to meet a really quick death at the box office. Sure, it may have a good opening day, but when word of mouth hits that it's really bad, that's when people stop coming. And I definitely do see this with the remake of Child's Play. I'm hoping this is the last time I have to talk about this film, until whatever happens at the box office with this film, because I've had it. Seriously, I've really had it. Why did we need to have Child's Play remade when the current series is still going? I said this before. I will not be there opening weekend to see Child's Play. Instead, I'll wait until next year when the new Chucky TV series comes out, because that looks more interesting than this film. Have a podcast that you want to promote? Well, if you're interested in swapping commercials, you can promote your show here on Anthony T's Horror Show, and in return I will promote your commercial on my show as well. For more information, contact me at anthonytshorrorshow@gmail.com.
Hey guys, this is Steve and Christina. I'm the founder, owner, creator, and host of Super Retro Throwback Reviews. Are you looking for the best movie reviews, music reviews, video game reviews, and Comic-Con coverage all around? Well then look no further. Definitely check out Super Retro Throwback Reviews on YouTube, and our new audio podcast, the new and improved Super Retro Throwback Reviews audio files version 2.0 on the following media distributors: Podbean, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify.
Class is over, John. Time for something new and improved.
Welcome back to Anthony T's Horror Show. I'm here with Berna Roberts, star of such films as Ugly Sweater Party and Slaw. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing good.
Good.
What made you get into acting?
When I got into acting when I was 12. I started doing theater. I was painfully shy, but I had a teacher who mentored me basically until she passed away, and she just really encouraged me because of how shy I was to she pushed me to break out a little bit, and she was my speech teacher, and I became more confident, and I started doing theater.
Now, I noticed on your filmography you have a lot of horror films.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the films that got you into horror?
Well, growing up, my whole family watches a lot of horror films, but we were basically allowed to watch those, and we watched them a lot with our parents. I love The Shining. I love the original Amityville Horror. One of the films, it's actually one of the early ones I remember watching really, really little, was a horror comedy film called Mr. Boogedy. So there's a lot of humor in there, and kids can actually watch that one, teenage or preteens. But and then the other side of that is watching all of the creature features like Godzilla, Creature from the Black Lagoon, all the way to like a Freddy film or Child's Play.
Now, one of your most recent films is Ugly Sweater Party, which also stars Sheen Whalen and Felissa Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the film and your character.
So the film is a horror comedy film, and you find the character, you meet some early characters, some besties, and they basically are going what they think is to meet a couple hot chicks that they met before, and they end up at this weird camp up in the mountains, and that's where you end up meeting my character, who is there for counseling. I am engaged, and we are in need of counseling. That's as much as I'll tell you about that relationship. But you meet all these quirky characters that are all up there at the camp seeking counseling and friendship, and it's not what the two guys expected at all. And then things kind of go haywire.
Now, how did you become involved with the film?
Actually, I had our writer-director, Aaron Mento, I had a couple of people I had worked with before that referred me to him. So we all met together, like there was an entire group of people. I'm not sure if they were celebrating something that night, but we all met together, and I met Aaron, and he's really good at, one of the things he's really good at is writing something that is totally written for certain people that he's met. So he had a character that he wrote. I believe he wrote the character, or even the idea of the character, maybe after meeting me. So it was written specifically for me in mind, which I think a lot of those characters were written for the specific people that he knew. And that's how I became involved in it. And it was just an amazing experience, just a great group of people to work with. And the thing about doing horror films too, especially if it ends any kind of horror film, but especially if it's a comedy film as well, is just so much fun on set, and everybody kind of bonds and becomes a family.
What were your thoughts when you read the script? As the film was a crazy film that had more of a trauma-like feel to it.
When I read the script, it was very, it was definitely out there. There's like that thing, that you'll see in a trauma film too, where it's like slightly offensive but funny kind of feel. But not really crossing that line where it's completely offensive. It's more, I don't even know if offensive is the right word. It's just really just going out there unapologetically. And the script was great. And then when we had a table read, then you get to see you get to hear it in a different way because the actors are all bringing it to life. So I definitely think it was trauma-esque when I read it.
Now, the film was mostly shot in the woods. What was it like shooting in the woods?
Well, we were shooting at this old campground in Idlewild. So when you get there, you go up to the very top of this mountain, and there's this camp, and they have like the main, camp where they're like the main cabin, like the giant cabin where everybody probably meets for breakfast in the morning. And then they have the little cabins, and then there's a whole other little building just for the bathroom. And everywhere they had these big, giant, painted, like elves and snowmen. So it was obviously, it used to be a camp that people maybe went for the holidays. I don't know the whole history of it, but it was really cool. It made you wonder what they do up there. And then, but at night, it got really creepy because it gets so dark up there, you can't see anything in front of your face. But it was like, when you go and you're on location like that and you're all together, it's kind of like going on a camping trip with just a big group that's now become your friends, basically. So it was really neat. Yeah, I think that the actual campground was like a whole other character in itself.
There were a lot of crazy moments in this film, including a scene which I won't spoil. What was it like filming that scene?
It was fun. Like I said, we had all bonded at that point. So it was like we had a limbo party, and we had a dance scene. The dance scene was funny because we had to learn all this choreography and trying to get that right, and just really committing to it 110%. So that was fun, and just you started to kind of feel like you had your camp counselor leading the whole thing. So you kind of started to feel like you really were off at camp with these people, and it was fun.
Now, how long did that scene take to film between shooting the scene and all the choreography in the scene?
Well, we actually met with our choreographer, Lara, who's also in the film. We met with her prior to filming, and we're working on the choreography, so we would all know it when we got on set. And then we practiced it a few times all together because we had met with her separately, so we'd never done it all in a group. So we met with her ahead of time, did it all as a group, and then we were done doing that. We did it several hours in an afternoon. So it didn't take super long because we had all practiced it ahead of time.
You also got to work with Felissa Rose on the film.
Mm-hmm.
What was she like to work with?
Oh, she's a hoot. She's fun, whether the camera's rolling or not. She's like the kindest, sweetest person you'll meet. And then she's just a big character. She's funny, just naturally funny all the time. And she's like just laid back and fun, and her banter is always hilarious. And then very professional too, as far as like the acting side of it, very professional and specific with the choices that she makes. So that was absolutely a wonderful experience to work with her.
What was it like working with director Aaron Mento on the film?
Aaron Mento is, he's very good at giving you he knows exactly what he wants, and he's very good at giving direction and being very specific about it so you understand it. Sometimes you can get direction and you're not sure exactly what they're asking for, but he's very, very good at that. And just even from the moment that I feel like before he's written the script, but he's envisioned the story, he already knows specifically what it's going to be and what the arcs of the characters are going to be. And then when he puts it down on paper, and then he just kind of hones it down till he has exactly what he wants. And then, like I said, he's very good too I feel like he's good at maybe reading people. So then when he writes a character with you in mind, it's easy to kind of ground yourself in that character because he's written it in a way that there are elements of that person in it. So I think he's very good at what he does, and he does have a unique perspective and vision on the kind of stuff he wants to make. He has this very good taste in old films, and I always see these very specific films that he enjoys and watches, and so I feel like he has a strong point of view on different characters and different genres, and knowing what kind of stories he wants to tell.
What was it like working with the other members of the cast?
They were all great. They were all the characters that were written for them, and brought even more stuff to the table. And like I said, when I read the script is one thing. When I hear the actors doing it is another thing. When we're on the set, we're in the environment, they're in the wardrobe. They are those characters, and they're discovering even new things with the characters or with the scenes as we're doing it. It's very exciting, and it really brings everything to life.
What was your favorite moment on set filming Ugly Sweater Party?
Well, there was definitely, when you end up doing any of the special effects stuff, they do half practical. They do a lot of practical effects, but then they also put in maybe some visual effects if needed as well. That's always fun. But I really I think I really like those, like when we had the limbo party or the dance, not the big dance scene, but there was another kind of conga line that we did. Just any of the things with all the cast members involved was a lot of fun because we all got to play off of each other. And, you know, when we're done acting for the day, we're going back to the main hall and we're all hanging out, and it's a camping trip again. So, and we've become close and we've become friends. So I feel like, you know, there were a lot of instances, but those two scenes specifically where we all got to work together was a lot of banter and fun horror comedy stuff going on.
Now, what were your thoughts about the final cut of Ugly Potty Sweater?
About the edit? I thought the edit was great. I'm sorry?
Yes, the film, the final cut.
I thought the edit was really good. I thought it told the story. An edit can make or break a film, and I think it's a really well done edit. I think it's kind of a cult classic horror comedy trauma-esque film is how it ended up turning out. And you don't really know what's coming or expecting anything, and it ends up being outrageous at moments. And there's a specific audience that absolutely would enjoy that type of film.
Now, speaking of trauma-esque films, you were also in another film recently called Slaw, which is a horror comedy / parody of Saw. Tell me about that film and your character in it. Not to give too much away about my character, but basically it's about brothers that are having their dining experiences ruined, and they're punishing the people that are ruining their dining experiences. It's a kind of a twisted take on the Saw films, but in a comedy genre with a little bit of the Medea film feel to it as well. So I feel like if you took any of the Medea films and mixed it with the Saw films, then you get Slaw. And just a lot of, you know, it's horror comedy, lots and lots and lots of comedy and fun, interesting characters. My character is Mama, and I have my own coleslaw company, and just very protective of my boys and making sure that they make some choices that are gonna lead them to a happy life. And there's some reveals in there that I won't give away, but I filmed that in Atlanta, and with John Capp, who was a former wrestler, and he wrote and starred in this film. And it was definitely a fun shoot. One, you know, I'm going to Atlanta for a couple weeks to shoot it, and just a really professional setting as well. So yeah, it was different, definitely, from anything I had done. As far as I've done a lot of horror, but it was much different. What are some of the differences filming in Atlanta compared to Los Angeles?
I think the only major difference filming down there was that you're in a different terrain. Like, everything is more spread out in Atlanta, and you have more of that. Here everything is kind of mushed together and a little more congested in LA, but in Atlanta everything's spread out. So, and then, you know, there's a different vibe because there's a Southern hospitality, and so I think there's a different kind of energy. But as far as professionally, it was a very professional set, so there's not much of a difference in that way.
Since this film is a parody of the Saw franchise, were you a fan or familiar with the Saw franchise before you joined the film?
You know, I had actually never seen a Saw film when I did that film. I'd seen so many like just little scenes, pieces from it, so many clips from it that I felt like I knew. I mean, I definitely knew what they were about, and seeing clips, so got a vibe for it for sure. But like I said, it has elements of that, but it's kind of its own thing. So I don't feel like you had to be completely familiar with the Saw films to do the film. Obviously as an actor you do research and stuff, but it wasn't completely necessary for this.
Now, how do you become involved with them?
Well, basically your agent submits you for stuff, or your manager, or you submit yourself for things on just various websites. This was through Breakdown Services. And then they requested a video audition because they are in Atlanta and I'm in LA. And I sent off a video audition, and then I received a phone call from the producer. And then we just arranged it. They called my agent and negotiated, and that's how it came about.
What was it like working with director Matt Green on the film?
Matt was great. He was really great. I don't feel like, a great director, like I said before, is able to communicate to you what they want. So he was great. I had the actors that I worked with were really very good, and they gave you something to play off of, and they listened and played off of whatever I gave them, so that helped everything.
What was your favorite moment on set of that film?
We had one day that we were filming this scene that basically it was a huge scene because you had the wrestlers sitting at one table. We were at a restaurant, and the wrestlers were sitting at one table, and the family was sitting at another table, and one of the actors ends up with a big bowl of coleslaw on his head. And that was a big day because we had so many people on set. And so, there's Kevin Nash's table, and he had Luke Gallows over there, just all of the people. And then we're sitting at the family table. And there was just, I feel like there were so many people on set, it was really interesting to, for that whole thing to happen. And plus, when you get to watch Kevin Nash throw a big bowl of coleslaw on one of the actors. That's always fun.
That was probably one of the best scenes in the film.
Yeah,
the whole
it's great.
Dinner scene.
It's so ridiculous. And I'll tell you, after filming that, though, if you're around that much coleslaw, you just don't want to be around coleslaw ever again because you can't stop smelling it.
Now, what were your thoughts on the final cut of Slaw?
I thought the edit was really good. I thought, it did the things it needed to do as far as when it had the reveals, because you have to do that in a certain careful way. There's two ways of looking at it. Like, you get an editor that comes in. In my opinion, it's best to get someone who's objective, so you don't have like the director editing it or the DP editing it necessarily. On the other hand, the director and the DP know the film backwards and forwards, so it's more beneficial to get them to edit from that perspective. But I think what they did with it turned out really good, and I did get very good feedback from it. So that was good. In this case, we had the producer editing it, one of the producers, which he's a filmmaker, but he happened to be the producer on this film. And that was good because he was somewhat objective, but he also knew the film backwards and forwards since he was producing it and read the script a billion times, and helped write it as well. So I thought it was a good choice for editing.
I also noticed on your filmography that you're a producer, director, and editor as well. What made you want to expand into those aspects of filmmaking as well?
Well, I was an editor for about 2 years, and the only reason I learned to edit in the first place was, we have our actor tools, including our demo reels. And when we submit for jobs, we have to submit our demo reels so the filmmaker can see some of our footage and some of the work that we've done. Well, I think I needed something changed I needed something added, and time was of the essence. I needed it immediately. My editor was not available. And I basically thought, well, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this it was like over a weekend. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this in the next 2 days. So in that case, I just hopped on iMovie, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to edit this reel by Monday. So I managed to figure that out. But once I had done that, then I kind of became more interested, and I started trying to learn Final Cut. And in the past, I had actually, I booked this, before I moved to LA, I booked this television pilot in Las Vegas. And when I went to do this television pilot, we did it. It didn't sell. But the filmmaker's name was Dave Ferris, and he introduced me to the editor for General Hospital who used the Avid program. And so I started trying to learn Avid. And that was years ago when I was in Las Vegas. Then I went from Vegas to LA. And so I had a little bit of experience on Avid, but I never really did anything with it. So then when I used iMovie, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I did enjoy learning a little bit of the editing process in the past. And so I started learning other programs. And I did that for 2 years on some different streaming series and films. And I definitely enjoy it. It's a different perspective. And I learn a lot as an actor when you work as an editor, because you realize on set how the editor is taking different pieces from different takes of what you're doing. So I feel like the pressure's off a little bit, and you can play a little bit more when you're working on set as an actor. So that's the editing side of it. As far as directing and producing, that was kind of something that happened accidentally. I have a director and producer partner named Nicole Wright, who we actually met a long time ago when we were volunteering for a program that did Christmas shows for orphans. And we played elves because we're both tiny women. And we met that way. She went to Chapman for film directing. And next thing you know, she was doing this series, this streaming series, a 20-episode streaming series. And I was brought on as an actor for a role. And then the next thing you know, I was co-producing and co-directing with her some episodes. And then I also ended up doing some editing on that. And then we also ended up co-directing another series, 2 episodes of another streaming series called Siblings from Curse Case. And then more recently, I was brought on as an actor for a short film, more of a featurette. It's a long short film. And I ended up producing that as well, which that was completely, I was basically asked if I was interested, and I absolutely was, because the story was really important to me, and I wanted to have some control in getting the story put together during the process of casting, but then also afterwards in post-production, which is where we're at right now.
Now, what are some of your upcoming horror films that people should keep an eye out for in the coming months?
So let's see. Well, the one I just produced is a horror film. It's really it's not like a gory horror film or anything. It's a 1950s period piece that is a crime, suspense, murder horror film. But it's in the style of Hitchcock, so it's less like, it's not a slasher film, in other words. And then I have a film that's going to be releasing soon called My Dead Selfie. And My Dead Selfie, it just did 3 sneak previews, and it's going to be releasing, I think they're doing a video on demand on Vimeo coming up soon. And that's basically a horror film that we have witches and warlocks in it, but it tells the story of racism using the horror genre, like the film Get Out does. And that's from writer-director Joy Shannon. And we've had a really great response from that film at the sneak previews, actually. And then I'm still filming, I'm working on a film right now called The Tarot, and that is from writer-director Peter Hyaguchi. And you should absolutely find his YouTube channel. Just Google Peter Hyaguchi YouTube. That's Hyoguchi. The movie The Tarot is kind of it's definitely different than anything out there. I'll just give you the log line. When a young man falls for a seductive but mentally unstable fortune teller, he begins to suspect her family is hiding a diabolical secret. And I'll just say the secret is a whopper. It's super creepy suspense. There is kind of a Hitchcock-esque thing to that as well. And it also stars Tom Holland, who, if you're a horror fan, you know Tom Holland is the creator, writer, director of Child's Play and Fright Night. So I've had the opportunity to work with him on this film, which has been absolutely amazing. So we have that one coming out too, and we're still filming it though. So I'm thinking, we probably maybe looking to release that at the end of the year.
Now, where can they find you on social media?
I am on Instagram at Berna Roberts is my handle. I'm under Berna Roberts, Berna Roberts on Facebook. There's a regular Facebook page, and then there's like a page just for my acting that they can like and follow. Twitter at Berna Roberts 11.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Berna.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice day, and you're welcome, and good luck with your films.
Thank you, Anthony. Have a great day.
Besides Anthony T's Horror Show, you can also listen to these other fine podcasts on the Doc Discussions Network. Doc Discussions, hosted by Philip Perrone and Michael Darwin. You Know Nothing, Jon Snow, a Game of Thrones podcast. Bullets, Brothels, and Bots, a Westworld podcast. Halloween Boutique, Psychotronic Reviews. And Searching for American Gods. You can find Doc Discussions on the web at www.docdiscussions.com. And Doc Discussions is also available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify.
Want to learn more about horror directors? With a lighthearted look at 3 of their movies? Meet fearless podcaster Gore Blimey.
I've been unsettled by bats in the past and startled by parrots, and I've even been known to jump at the odd cockatoo.
Discover horror films that are classics, and others, too.
There's a topless aerobics massacre, an exploding rock singer, cannibals, nude martial arts, a deep-fried prostitute.
But it's not all silliness. You'll get proper movie breakdowns, opinion, and background information, too.
Yep, in the 80s and 90s, Jeff Stryker was huge in gay porn. In every sense.
So if you're a horror film fan, come and check out the Trilogy of Terror podcast at strangeanddeadly.com, or find it on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or on your podcatcher.
One of those people that has a certain charisma and a certain style, and I'm just hoping one day he'll rub off on me.
The Trilogy of Terror podcast, where we try 3 times harder to give you the willies.
Dear Shudder executives, hi, my name is Anthony T from Anthony T's Horror Show, and I'm proud to be a drive-in mutant. I am writing you to urge you to renew The Last Drive-In with Job Bob Briggs for a 2nd season. This show is a show that I've been enjoying ever since Job Bob Briggs came to Shudder, and has gotten me to live tweet on my official Twitter in real time, only for the first film since I have to work the next day, but I've been catching the second half of The Last Drive-In on demand, This show should be a high priority for your network, as this is one of the reasons why you've seen a spike in subscribers over the last year. Plus, it has brought us B-movie lovers together on Twitter to talk about the films that are shown, and we're having a good time watching them. If you choose not to renew The Last Drive-In, there is a good chance that you may lose subscribers, and I don't want to see either of that happen, because I think The Last Drive-In is a great show. Plus, Shudder has been the go-to destination for us horror fans, and I want to see this network thrive. I urge you to renew The Last Drive-In for a second season, so fans of the show can enjoy Friday nights having fun and reliving the drive-in days with blood, boobs, and beast. Sincerely, Anthony T. P.S. The drive-in will never die. You can find Anthony T's Horror Show on social media on these platforms. Facebook at facebook.com/Anthony T's Horror Show. Twitter at www.twitter.com/Anthony T's Horror. On Instagram at www.instagram.com/Anthony T's Horror Show. On YouTube at www.youtube.com/Anthony Thurber. And you can find Anthony T's Horror Show on the web as well at anthonytshorrorshow.blogspot.com. And you can also find Doc Discussions at www.docdiscussions.com. For my film recommendation this episode, I'm recommending a film called Braid. This film was recently released on DVD, I would say about maybe a month or two ago. I first heard about the film, oddly enough, through the Doc Discussions podcast, which is hosted by Philip Perrone and Michael Darwin. And I heard they were doing an episode called Braid. So I kind of decided to see if somehow this film would be available on Amazon Prime, since I have a subscription to Amazon Prime. And to my surprise, it was. So I decided to check this film out before listening to their episode on it, because I wanted to see the film before hearing their thoughts about it, because I know the show goes into spoilers a lot, so I'm one of those people that does not want to be spoiled by anything that goes on in a movie, especially if I want to see it in the future. So I did that, and to my surprise, this is a very good film. In fact, I would have to say this would easily be on my top 3 films of the year so far, because this film was just stunning and very different to what I've seen in the past months. This is more of a psychological horror film compared to the regular slashers or monster films, but this is definitely a great film. The film has great direction from first-time director Mitzi Perrone. She does a great job with the way she directs this film and writes the screenplay. This is one of those films where you're just wondering what the hell is going on. One minute you think it's one thing, the next minute it's another. This film has a more like of a David Lynch or an M. Night Shyamalan feel to it. Plus, the film has excellent cinematography from Todd Van Hazel. I apologize if I get the name wrong. That was definitely a tough name to pronounce, but his cinematography is just great, whether it's the way he shoots some of the film's surrealistic scenes, to how he gets the images to be very off-kiltered, which helps makes this film's tone work, as it's just great to look at, as the images have a kind of surrealistic, dreamlike feel, which helps this film have its unique identity and separates it from pretty much many of the films that are currently out there today. Another thing that this film has that people should check out is the performances in this film, as all the three lead performances were very good. Madeline Brewer, Imogen Waterhouse, and Sarah Hay does a very good job making their characters interesting enough that you're kind of glued to what is going on and trying to figure out what's real, what isn't. Plus, they also had great chemistry with each other, which also helped make this film very good. Because sometimes in a film like this, you need chemistry to make the film's tone work. And the chemistry between the three actresses were very good. Definitely worth checking this film out. Besides the screenplay and the great direction from Mitzi Perrone. Now, this is one of those rare films where you might need to see multiple viewings of to understand what is going on. Trust me, I could understand some of it the first time, but I recently re-watched the film as I purchased the DVD because I liked what I saw a lot. So, if you are confused with Braid or you just don't know what's going on, this is one of those movies where you have to probably see it at least twice, maybe 3 times. Like I said earlier, this film has more of a David Lynch, M. Night Shyamalan feel to it, so you really don't know what is happening. And that's what makes films like this rewatchable, as you want to know what is going on. So definitely check out Braid. It's available on Amazon Prime. And also, if you want to purchase the disc, it's also available on Amazon.com. For my film recommendation this episode, I'm recommending the film Braid. Definitely check this film out, as this is easily one of the best films I've seen this year so far. Now, I don't have any new YouTube videos or announcements regarding either YouTube or Anthony T's Horror Show on the web, but I can tell you what's going to happen next episode, as yours truly will be doing a ScareCon New England preview show. I don't know what's going to happen on the show yet. I will definitely have a guest on in this episode. Plus, also, I don't know what else I'm going to do this episode, as I may also get someone else to join me on the show to discuss the upcoming ScareCon New England convention over in Framingham, Massachusetts, at the Sherrington Framingham Hotel and Conference Center on June 7th through the 9th. I will be having a table there, so you will get to meet me whenever I'm not getting autographs, getting interviews, or whatnot. So you will get to meet me at my table. I will be there at times. I haven't set a schedule yet, so I may not even have the schedule on when I will be at my table, because it all depends on a couple things, basically. I'm hoping to have a schedule by the time the episode is in production. If I don't get to making a schedule on when I'll be at my table, you can always check social media over on Facebook at Anthony T's Horror Show, on Twitter at Anthony T's Horror, and also on Anthony T's Horror Show's official webpage at anthonytshorrorshow.blogspot.com. So I will definitely, hopefully, have some information on how I'm going to structure my table by next episode. If not, I will let you know through social media. With that, I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good day. Remember, #horror is healthy, and support indie horror.
Hey, fellow horror fans. This is Troy Escamilla, the director of Party Night and Mrs. Claus, and you are listening to Anthony T's Horror Show. Enjoy.